Johanna Miller, Vermont Natural Resources Council, joined as always by my colleague Dan Fingus, Vermont Conservation Voters. And today we're glad once again to have VPIRG's Ben Edgerly Walsh, who leads their Climate and Clean Energy program. In our weekly dispatch, just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about what's happening here in the legislature on climate and clean energy, which is not a lot. Thankfully, there's still, real sort of strong commitment from legislative leadership to hold tight on the important climate and clean energy policies that we have passed in the last couple of sessions, including the Global Warming Solutions Act, keeping that really important framework intact, as well as the Renewable Energy Standard, which was a carefully curated sort of commitment among utilities, uniquely constructed for different utilities in different places, to really continue to move Vermont's electric energy portfolio to more clean, renewable, and local supplies. Increasingly important when we're talking about really needing to sort of had energy independence and resilience in our energy supply. We also know we need to build on that for our transition in the transportation and thermal sectors. But what's hot and why we're really glad to have Ben here today is, you remember we told you a lot about, and we know how important it is to hold the largest fossil fuel companies accountable for the impacts that their products have caused, causing devastating consequences. The Climate Superfund bill, Ben wants to give you an update on what's happening with that important policy so that we can make sure it is held intact and we can do that really important work. So give us a sense of what's happening.
Absolutely. So again, we're talking about the Climate Superfund Act here that was passed last legislative session in the wake of the terrible flooding that hit so much of the state in 2023. That was, a session where the legislature really was focused on flood recovery. This year, with all the chaos coming out of the Trump administration and cuts to program after program coming from the federal government, it's really hard, frankly, it seems like, for the legislature to focus on any one thing. There's just too much coming at them. But the reality is, this is no less of a priority for our state. In 2024, as folks know, a year to the day after those floods in 23, many of the same parts of Vermont get hit just as hard. There was reporting recently that town after town hasn't gotten reimbursed by FEMA, and in some cases has taken out debt multiple times larger than their entire town budget, and that's to say nothing of the very real and acute financial hardship that Vermonters and Vermont businesses are going through right now. So the reality that Vermont can't shoulder this financial burden alone is just as real right now. And the moment that we're in on the Climate Superfund Act is one of implementation. So as passed last year, the ball is rolling on implementation. The first big thing that needs to happen on that is the Treasurer's Office is tasked with estimating the costs of the state of Vermont of the climate crisis, of the damage it's causing, and of the cost of resilience and adaptation and response to the climate crisis here in Vermont. And that work needs to be funded. And so the Treasurer's Office and A&R testified yesterday to Senate Natural Resources, which is considering this funding. It ultimately is going to wind up in the Appropriations Committee and then hopefully be considered by the whole Senate and the whole legislature. And so our ask to you all right now is call your senators, call your representatives, let them know how important it is to you that the Climate Superfund Act implementation is funded so that we actually ultimately can get this money from the largest fossil fuel companies in the world, who, again, as we all know, really are at the root of this climate crisis that we're all living through right now.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for your expertise, for continuing to follow the implementation. We're going to do a little switch out. Ben didn't just walk away from me. We are bringing in one of VNRC's newest staffers, Jack Pitblado, who is the Climate Action Coordinator, my old job at VNRC. You're about 6 weeks in, I think, on the job. We'd love to hear about what you've been working on and any important events that are coming up.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Dan. And, again, my name is Jack Pitblado. I'm the new Climate Action Coordinator with VNRC. And since I started in the last 6 weeks, I've been talking to Energy Committee leaders and advocacy leaders across the state, both about the important work that you're doing in your communities and about the important work ahead for us as a state if we want to transform our energy economy away from fossil fuels. In line with that, the Climate Action Office is hosting a number of events throughout the month of April, 2 virtual and 7 in person, to hear your concerns in your community about the direction that our state needs to take and ensure that we fulfill our legal obligations to reduce fossil fuel usage between now and 2050. We urge you to go to these meetings. Some of them are in places like Heinsberg, Rutland, Bennington, and more. Find the link in our description, and we'll see you there. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Jack. Very important sessions. This is calls to action time. You've already heard 2 calls to action, so call your senator about the needed appropriation for the Climate Superfund that Ben talked about. Make sure you figure out if there's a climate action plan input session in your area or if you can attend one of the virtual ones. The third call to action is around the federal things that are happening. There's a huge hands-off rallies being planned across the country, over 800 rallies across the country saying, hands off our government, the destruction that the Trump administration is doing. We're hearing daily, tariffs. Yesterday we also heard about the basically laying off of the whole LIHEAP staff. So many important programs are being gutted by this administration, and we need to stand up and raise our voices. And so the biggest of those rallies tomorrow, Saturday, April 5th, is in Montpelier. So hopefully you can join us there. I know I'll be there, but you can also go to the link in the email to find if there's even a closer event that you might want to attend. Thanks for always being with us. Hope we see you out at the rallies this weekend, and if not, at one of the Climate Action Plan events later in the month. Have a great day.